Hello guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to use switch cases in C#. As we have seen, if statement, switch statement is also a conditional statement. So if any condition is true, the code related to that condition will be executed. So let's see how we can use switch cases. For the starting code, what I'm doing is I'm making this code for the students who got some marks. And on the basis of marks got by student, I want to show some messages. So what I'm doing is I'm just printing on the screen, please enter the student marks. And then what I'm doing is I'm taking the input from the user and I'm converting it to the int value by this int.parse, and I'm saving it into this variable called marks. Now on the basis of user entered marks, I want to show some messages. So let's see how we can use switch statement to perform our task. The switch statement starts from the keyword switch and with this bracket, and in this bracket your condition comes. Now in our case our condition is marks. On the basis of marks we are going to print messages, right? Now after this brackets you need to give these two curly brackets to open and close switch case statement, and inside these curly braces we write the cases which can be possible. So for example, case 90, if student get 90 marks, then I want to write on the screen or console dot write, and I will print this message on the screen. Excellent. Okay, now after every switch case we can use an optional break. So I'll write break here. So this break, what this break does is, it whenever some condition is true, then this code is performed and it breaks out of the switch statement and it goes directly here and it performs the other code which is written after this switch statement. Okay, so in this way I will just copy this switch statement and paste it 3 more times, and if the student gets, for example, 60 marks, I will say very good, and if the student gets 30 marks, then I can write need improvement. Okay, so if the student will get the 90 marks, I will just show this excellent message. If the student gets 60 marks, I will show very good, and if the student gets 30 marks, I will show need improvement. And what this break does is, if the condition is true, it immediately print this message and it will break the switch cases. So break we can use to go out of these switch cases. Now for example, the user has entered some values which is not 90, 60 or 30. Then for dealing with such cases we use default. And what this default does is, it catches all the exception or all the values which are not in these conditions, which are not provided in these cases. Okay, so this is the default case for us, and in the default case I will just write, for example, I will just copy this, paste it here, and in the default case I will say please enter valid value. Okay, so in the default case, this is the default case, and in this default case, whatever which is not in this case is whatever condition which is not followed in this case or this case or this case or any other case will fall into this default. Okay, so now let's try and run the code, and I will enter the student's marks, for example 90, and press enter. It shows me the message excellent, right? For example, I will enter the marks 60. It shows me very good. And as in the same way, when I will enter 30, it will give me need improvement. But let's see what happens when we enter some value which is not belonging to these cases. For example 75, and it says please enter the valid values. Okay, so any value which is not 90, 60 or 30 or whatever you enter in this cases will not be followed, and it will directly go into this default case, and this message will be printed. And in here, in a similar way, you can write some function, or you can call some functions, you can perform some calculation, some code you can write. So it's not necessary that you should only print the value. You can perform some calculation, you can do some maths, you can call some functions. So anything which you would like, you can do it inside this switch cases. Now, for example, if you don't want to use break, it's also okay. But what will happen then is it will not break here, your program will not break here, but wherever it sees, or your switch case sees the first break, and whenever the condition is true, it will show this message. So for example, I will just remove this break and this message, and this break and this message. Then what do you think what will happen? In this case, because we don't have provided the break, and when you enter 90, it will directly show this message, which is need improvement, because it doesn't see break here, it doesn't see break here, and it will see that first break comes here, then it will just show need improvement. So this is a small thing which happens in switch statement. If it doesn't seize breakpoint, it goes to the next case. Now for example, I want to print the same message. I can write like this, whatever is the marks. Okay, so now I can write marks entered, and when I run the program, and for example I will enter 90, it says marks entered 90, which is this message, right? Because it jumps to the next case 60, and it sees here is no break. It jumps to 30, and it sees yes, here is a break, so I need to print this, right? So switch case works like this. It goes to the next case if the break is not provided. So in this way you can use switch cases in C#. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Please rate, comment and subscribe, and bye for now.